welcome to Liz's 10-minute book review. Wow, 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 wow. We're going to record Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. I think that's how you say it.
Looks like it.
Really good book. I got it from Book of the Month this month, and I'm really happy about it. So, okay, we have Lucy. Lucy is being investigated on a murder podcast called Listen for the Lie by Ben Owens. Right?
A podcast and a book?
Podcast and a book. A murder podcast in a book. It has everything I want. Also, it's a really funny book. Which, thriller, mystery, and humor? Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, that's golden.
It's your favorite kind of word salad?
It's my favorite word salad. Give me all that word barf. I'll slurpity slop that up. Ben's investigating her. So, what happened was, 5 years ago, Lucy was with her best friend, Savannah, who they call Savvy, and they had just left a wedding, and Lucy has no memory of the night because she had a brain injury, and Savannah's dead.
Okay.
There wasn't enough physical evidence to convict Lucy for this crime, but everybody fucking thinks she did it. So now, 5 years later, the podcast is like, season 1, I solved a cold case. Alright, cocky smug bastard, I'm Ben Owens. I'm going to solve this case. And I'm either going to prove that Lucy is guilty, or I'm going to find out who did. So, Lucy goes back to her hometown on her grandma's wishes. Her grandma is 80, and she is an alcoholic. She only developed a drinking problem in her 70s, which I think is...
Hell yeah, dog.
So fucking funny. Like, if I ever go back to drinking, it'll be in my later years. Because what else is there to fucking do? Anyway, she's a hoot. She's also a slut, but in the best way possible. Beverly. She's a single old woman. She sold her house and lives in a tiny home, and she has quite a few friends, if you know what I mean. Every time she shows up at a new location, people are like, who brought you here? She's like, a friend. Or every time she mysteriously leaves a place, it's because a dude picked her up so she'd go get banged. Yeah, Beverly is one of the best characters in the entire fucking book. And it's not a huge character, but I would say Beverly is my favorite character in this book. Okay. Ben and Beverly are pretty friendly. You know, Beverly is the one who convinces Lucy to come home. Beverly thinks that Lucy should talk to Ben on the podcast. In fact, she's trying to convince her to, and she eventually agrees to it. Lucy decides, alright, well, before I go on the podcast, I'm going to listen to these old episodes. So we start to see parts of the podcast where he's interviewed other people. He's interviewed Emmett, which was Lucy's best friend in high school, who has a big crush on her, and always has. They interview Savannah's mother. They interviewed Lucy's mother. They interview Beverly. Great episode. And a couple of other people. They interview Savannah's sister. And we start to get to know the characters a little bit more. Lucy, a lot of people don't believe that Lucy all of a sudden had memory loss. Well, she was hit in the head when they found her wandering the streets the next day. Because she was delirious, and she had a goose egg on her head from getting smacked in the face, you know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
So her brain she didn't get the memories back. But as she's staying there, random memories are starting to come back. As she's being around her ex-husband, named Matt, who was abusive.
That's terrifying.
Right? So part of you is like, yo, wasn't Matt? That man has violence in him. And Lucy even questions herself. She's like, did I kill Savannah? I have been violent to my husband. Granted, she didn't start this violence. In fact, she did what she had to protect herself from getting killed by her husband. You know? But she believes that she's violent because of that. I think it's a little more complicated than that.
I see her point, though. Like,
I see her point.
She was driven to a point where she had to be violent to her husband. That means that she met a breaking point, and maybe something accidentally set her off, and she didn't, people fly into rages.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then you actually get into that. And that's kind of one of her thoughts in it. So, Mom, Dad, Matt, all think that Lucy did it. Yeah. It's fucked up. Ben, not so convinced. In fact, Ben is so not convinced that he starts to fuck Lucy on the DL, which is just bad reporting.
That's not the best way to get a unbiased report.
Right? Then we start learning about Lucy and Savannah's relationship. Savvy wanted to kill Matt. She was like, he's abusive, let's fucking kill him. And Lucy was like, Savvy, you're so funny. Maybe? So they're plotting to murder her husband. But they do it in almost like a lighthearted way. Like, oh, he makes me so mad I could just kill him. You know? Like that. But Savannah's a little more serious.
Right.
So, that's like kind of something. So, Lucy's like, man, if they knew that I was plotting to kill my husband, like, why wouldn't they think I killed Savannah? So she doesn't tell everybody about that. She also doesn't publicly admit to Matt abusing her in the home. Well, what does come out, though, is Matt's second wife decides to talk to Ben and recounts just how abusive Matt has been to her. Mm-hmm. And because she's a quote-unquote perfect victim, people believe it. It's not just Lucy being like, well, Matt hit me, and y'all think I'm a murderer, you know? So it now adds validity to different storylines. Okay, time goes on. She really starts to remember one night. She's like immersing herself in at the inn. She's hanging out with Matt. She hung out with Emmett, and she's starting to get these memories. And a memory hits her hard. Right after she was done talking to Emmett, actually. She gets in her car right outside where Emmett works at the paint shop. And she starts to have this flashback where her and Emmett made out outside of the wedding.
Uh-huh.
And Savannah walks up and she's like, let's go. So they get in the car. And Savannah and Lucy decide, we're not gonna kill your husband. We're actually just gonna pack our bags and leave tomorrow and go to LA.
That's good.
Right? So they start driving down the road, or right before they're about to drive down the road, they notice Emmett pull away. They go down the road. Emmett's just stopped in the middle of the road, though. They make it like halfway down. They're like, what the fuck? So they go up. Emmett walks up to Lucy's side, knocks. She's like, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Lucy's like, oh, Savannah, I'll let Emmett drive me home. Don't worry about it. And Savannah's like, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
Emmett's like, what, is she not gonna turn her high beams off? And pulls her like into the woods a little. Starts talking, starts confessing his love for her. And she's like, oh, I think I want to go. When she's getting uncomfortable, Savannah gets out of the car. She's like, I think it's time to go. And Emmett's like, I'm not done talking to her. And Lucy's like, we'll talk tomorrow. And Emmett grabs her. And he's like, no, we're not done talking. And Savannah's like, no, we're leaving. Now a struggle breaks out. Yeah. They start fighting. Emmett ends up hitting Lucy in the face. Knocks her out. Savannah and Emmett are now fighting. Emmett has a hammer, cracks Savannah in the head, but she's still alive.
Oh, shit.
He's about to hit Lucy. Savannah jumps in front of it. He cracks Savannah in the head a second time and kills her.
Now do it.
Lucy did get hit in the head. That's why she ended up with that goose egg and a fucking brain injury because she got hit in the head with a hammer. And she takes off running. Now, Matt, her husband, pulls up, and Emmett's like, Lucy killed Savannah. And Emmett's like, oh, well, I'm a douchebag man, and I'm going to believe this douchebag man. Let's protect Lucy and make sure she doesn't go to prison. Matt tells her parents the same thing. Hey, Lucy killed whatever, right? She has this flashback. And right as she's, like, coming to, Emmett's outside the art store again, and he's like, hey, why don't you come inside and have some water? You look pale. The car's real hot. Why don't you come out? And she's talking on the phone with Ben at that moment. And Emmett's like, oh, hey, Ben. She looks like she needs some water. She'll call you right back, and hangs up. And then he turns her car off, grabs her keys, puts her phone in his pocket, puts her keys in his pocket, convinces her to get out of the car. They go inside the art store, and she confronts him. And he's like, Lucy, what are you talking about? You're like, that never happened. You've created false memories before. She's like, no, this happened. And now it's like, oh, real evil Emmett comes out. He's like, I fucking loved you. Blah, blah, blah. And they start to fight. Really
in the
fucking...
art store?
In the art store. Then out...
Exacto knife section.
And then out in the street, he picks up a hammer. Weapon of choice, I guess. Picks up a hammer. She wrestles it away from him. And then, like, he reaches a point where he's, like, ready to run from her. And she's like, I should run, but my legs have a different plan. So I'm chasing him. And then, right as she catches him, she's about to hit him, Ben shows up and is like, what are you guys doing? And Emmett's like, Ben, Lucy, she's gonna kill me, blah, blah, whatever. Cops show up. They end up at the hospital. Lucy tells her a whole side of the story. Ben, without even being there, backs her up, says, yeah, Emmett was screaming something about killing Savannah, even though it wasn't true.
Made up.
Made up. But he was like, listen, if I don't say it, he was like, nobody believes you, Lucy. If I don't validate that,
lie a little bit, then, yeah.
Then this guy's going to be trusted. And he's not to be trusted. So, okay, the story ends pretty much there. Matt and her parents are both are all charged with withholding evidence. And Emmett gets convicted for Savvy's crime. Beverly says something that I really like. Beverly, man. Beverly's the motherfucking homie. How did Matt believe Emmett over his own wife? It does seem strange. Beverly. Well, not strange exactly. Typical men always believe each other. So, Lucy packs her shit up. The last episode of the podcast is released. People were like, I always believed in you, Lucy. You know? Like, just being real pieces of shit. And Ben is like, hey, when we get back to LA, oh, because that's where Lucy lives now. When we get back to LA, can I take you out on a proper date? And I won't ask you as many intrusive questions. And Lucy's like, yeah, sure. And that's the end. So, I really liked it. The humor part specifically.
Yeah, I heard you laughing at it sometimes.
Yeah, because it was funny. Real funny. I'm going to give this one 5 stars.
Yeah?
5 of them.
5 whole stars, huh?
5 whole stars. It was believable. It was funny. It was engaging. It was a page turner.
Big fan.
Big fan. Big fan. Alright, thanks for coming to Liz's 10-minute book review. Wow, 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 wow.